I'm very excited about this video because today we're going to drape some Balenciaga Couture.
And I'm sure you're excited about it too because you voted for it.
Hi, welcome to Pattern Making with Leigh. I ran this poll a couple of weeks ago and Michelle Yeoh in this Balenciaga dress was the clear winner. And now I'm going to try and recreate it. It's been a while since I've made any red carpet looks, but I was a pattern maker for Alexander McQueen and Jenny Packham, so let's see if I've still got it. Oh, and one more thing, I will be doing a poll after the Met Gala too, so keep a lookout for that and cast your votes. And the idea of this video series is it's one thing to teach pattern making skills like dart rotation and contouring and moving a center back seam. Those sort of skills are quite easy to teach. What's hard to teach and what's really important for you if you want to become a professional pattern maker or make clothes for yourself is to be able to analyze your design and then know how and when to apply those pattern making skills. So having this video series will show you how to think like a pattern maker. So let's get started. Whether you're recreating a runway look or getting a fresh sketch from a designer, it's important to gather all the information you need to create the design.
Thanks to social media, I was able to get lots of great shots of this dress, and I've screenshotted the best ones and put them together so I can recreate the whole dress.
While I was able to get a lot of great shots of this dress, I had one blind spot, the back left. I couldn't get a good photo of it. So I read somewhere that it was Balenciaga Couture, which obviously it is, but I was hoping that they meant that it was Balenciaga Couture from the collections. So I went to Vogue.com and did a deep dive through their runway archives.
And there it is, look 54 of fall 2023.
I'm very excited at this point. I'm like, yes, they're gonna have amazing detail photos, but there is nothing. No back, no side, no close-ups.
And if you look at the photo, the model has her arms over the drape.
So I persevered and put the look number and the collection into Google, and look who wore it first.
Kim Kardashian at the 2023 LA CMA Art and Film Gala. And thanks to Denim's Instagram, I was able to get great shots of this dress. Now, my 360 is complete, I can get to work. I've got my mannequin and a massive 6 meters of calico. You can see there is a waist seam, no side seams, and a center back seam. So the outer visible shell is going to be 2 pieces, top and bottom, of draped fabric that meet and form a train at the center back. I'm going to start with the top. If you look at the center front here, it's completely flat, which is great. I can anchor my fabric here, so I'm just pinning down the center front with the fabric on grain.
I don't know for sure that the center front is on grain, but by having center front on grain, all the diagonal draping will be on the bias, so it will sit nicely. And when I say grain, I mean the crosswise grain, so going across the fabric, not the lengthwise grain, which you usually do. Obviously this pattern piece is going to be huge with a massive train, so it won't fit on the width of the fabric.
And if you're wondering what's on my laptop, it's all the images I collected. Let's start draping. The left side has 3 folds, and it's pretty flat at the waist here, so I'm going to pin it flat. The middle fold is the larger fold, and believe it or not, it's just the excess you'd have for a bust dart. The only difference is there's no side seam, so the excess extends all the way to the back to create that nice draped fold. To create the top fold, I need to pull the neckline down slightly. When you're draping, you want to make sure the folds are sitting nicely, not just the fold itself, but the fabric underneath too. To create the bottom fold, I need to pull some fabric up from the waist, and it's getting a bit tight, so I'll grab my scissors and release the tension by snipping into the fabric. You have to do this a lot when you're draping, especially around the neck and the armhole. Now I'll head over to the back and extend these folds to the center back. I'll need to adjust them a bit too. This bottom fold actually extends below the waist, so I'll adjust that. I can see from Kim's dress, these folds are pretty evenly spaced at the center back, so I'm just going to adjust them a bit. And I'll just release some tension near the armhole so it stops pulling the neckline. The top 2 folds are looking pretty good, but I need to mark what I call stitch lines. If you look at the photos, you can see the drape is stitched together at certain points. It isn't as obvious on Kim's though.
Unfortunately, drapes don't magically stay in place. Yes, they are folded and sewn at the seams, but often that's not enough. Sometimes they'll be tacked to a lining underneath to help them hold their shape, or like this dress, you can see parts of the drape are actually stitched together. This is very common practice. I've done a whole video on how to use this to help you master the art of draping. You should watch after this video. However, these stitch lines shouldn't be obvious. It should look like it is magically staying together.
The reason it's more obvious on Michelle's than Kim's is the dress is pulling a lot. See how Kim's drape has this roundness to it which conceals the stitching? Anyway, this dress definitely has stitch lines at these points. Then I'll just clean up this bottom one by releasing more tension, making sure the fold sits nicely, then pinning its stitch lines. And that one side's done. That took me about 15 minutes. I'll just clean up the waist here a bit before I move on to the right side. This side has only 2 folds, so it should be quicker. Once again, the main fold is the bust-out excess. There isn't a fold at the bottom, so I'll trim along the waist, release the tension, and pin it flat against the body. And I'll just switch sides so you can see better. I'm pretty sure the left and right folds are going to match up at the back. While I don't have a straight-on photo of the back, I know they're pretty close, and it would look pretty weird if they were slightly off, so I'm going to try and match them up. While I'm working this out, I'll talk to you a bit about what I think is happening underneath. Under is an internal corset, and I've already done a video on that, which I'll leave a link to in the description. But this drape is the outer shell. The zip for this dress is in the center back, and I can't see any stitch lines on the drape tail, which tells me there's an inner layer.
The inner layer would be a really simple pattern, so no draping. This is why I encourage people to drape on top of a block, so a basic pattern. And if you need a block, you can buy the ones I use on my website, clippedpatternkits.com. Then you can just copy the neckline to it directly and attach the outer shell if you need to as well. It just makes it much quicker and much easier. Also, if you look at the front, it looks very solid. It's kind of supporting itself there, so I wouldn't be surprised if it had a layer of canvas underneath there too.
This internal layer will have the zip, and the drape would sit on top. Then there'll be some sort of fastening, maybe hook and eye, to attach to the left and right side of the drape tail together. Okay, I think this looks pretty good. That took about 10 minutes. Now onto the skirt.
Also, I'm telling you the time it took me to make this to encourage you to give it a go yourself. This drape isn't as bad as it looks. What will be difficult is working out the bulk of that train.
I've got another massive piece of 6-meter long calico to do the skirt. The center front is flat again, so I'll just pin along it to anchor my drape on the grain. I've left a bit of fabric at the top, so I have a bit of wiggle room. This front side has 2 folds. Once again, it's kind of dart rotation. I'm just using the dart excess that would have been on a skirt block for the top fold. Then, the shaping from the side seam, which is kind of like a dart if you think about it, to create these folds that wrap around to the back. Also, it's good to get in the habit of wearing an armband pin cushion when you're draping so you can easily access pins. The one I'm wearing is one we used at McQueen, and you can watch this video to learn how to make your own. And there's another fold down the bottom here. These bottom folds are also helping to create the peg shape of the dress. And another fold. Then I'll release some tension along the waist and fold it under so it looks a bit neater. Now, this fold from the top needs to go over the bottom of the skirt, so I'll just do that. Jeez, this is getting messy. Whew, okay, I got there. I'll probably need to trim away this excess at the top of the skirt, but I'll do the other side first. The top is completely flat, so I'll just pin along it. Oh no, I didn't leave enough fabric at the top. Oh, how sad. Oh well, you have to visualize it. I'm not going to redo it. The first fold starts at about the hip and comes up to meet a fold on the left side at the center back. And there's a second fold down here. So much drape. You can't see what I'm doing here, but I'm pinning the left and right side of the skirt together down until the knee at the center back. This would be a long stitch line, which should be very close to the body to help create that pegged shape. See how it's really fitted down to about the knee, then it's released? This makes a beautiful contrast against the fluid drape. Okay, this train is driving me a bit insane. Need to get some of it out of the way. The skirt is done, but I need to clean up this drape train. I'll start by trimming the neckline. The current neckline is higher than it should be, so I'll use some tape to draft the line. I find tape gives me a smoother line than drawing, but you can draw the neckline. Then I'll trim along it. And I'll do the same thing on the right. Once I trim it, I can remove some drape from the top here. I want the fabric to be straight, so I'll just fold the extra fabric that was attached to the higher neckline and cut along the fold line. And I'll do that on both sides. The train is buckling and looking kind of messy. I think the key will be to remove the tail at the top of the skirt at the center back, say top 10 centimeters. This is where there are a couple of layers of folding over themselves. I'm marking the center back line on both sides, and then I'll cut along it. So rather than having a big tail, the top of the skirt will be sewn together. Actually, there'll be a zip in between, but sewn together.
To be honest, this is one part of my drape today I'm not 100% sure about. I don't have a close-up photo, so I can't really cross-reference and check it, but I couldn't leave it the way it was. It was sort of folding and buckling on itself, and in the end, it sat quite nicely, and I think it looks pretty good.
When I trimmed the top of the skirt, it left this weird corner, so I'll cut that off, like I did with the top. So I'm literally folding the fabric to create a straight line between the hem and the start of the train here. Then I'll cut along it. And I'll do that on both sides. One last thing, I did the top of the top, but now I need to trim the bottom of the top drape. I'm just going to cut into the corner here at the waist seam and cut a straight line to the end of the drape tail. And I'll use the excess here, which I would normally remove, to fill in the top of the skirt. Remember how I ran out of fabric? I'm just pinning some in. Then I'll fold the waist excess down to create the seam edge. Now I'll pin the drape to the back. This is where the train will be stitched to the dress to secure it. Ooh, one more corner. I'll trim that away. Almost there. I'll just remove the pins from the front so I can get some good pictures. And one final check of the inside of the train. Great, it's looking pretty clean in here. So what do you think? Let's take a closer look and compare it to the images. I think the back left is looking pretty good. If you look at the image, you can't see the wrong side of the fabric in the train, which means the tail or train is double-sided. So try to visualize my drape having twice the thickness, so it's twice as much fabric, which would create more volume. Right is good too, besides the dodgy patch there. Shame. And let's take a look at the front. I think it's pretty good.
Of course, draping's only half the story. You still need to turn to a pattern. I've done a whole video called Mastering Art of Draping, which has really great practical skills on how to drape really well on a mannequin and then turn into a pattern. So make sure you check that out. It's the kind of information you won't find in other draping books or other pattern making books. It's all based on my experience in the industry working for high-end designers like Alexander McQueen and making dresses like this. So check that out. What else? Also, this dress has an internal corset, I think, and you can look at this video to see what designer corsets look like and how they're constructed. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel and keep a lookout for the polls. As I said, we're doing one about the Met Gala, so you can cast your votes and I'll make what you want to see.